I'm going to conclude this video with my number one tip. This final tip is without a doubt the biggest driver for follower growth when you're a small account, without a doubt. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about how you can get your first 1,000 followers on Instagram. I should start by saying that I am not some kind of mega influencer who has hundreds of thousands of followers. So I actually ummed and ahed about whether or not I should do this video before, but a lot of people asked for it, so I figured I'm just gonna do it. Whilst I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers, I do currently manage 4 different Instagram pages, personal Instagram, which I've monetized. It's worth noting that I actually have a video where I talk about how much money I've made from that account, which I will link up here if you're interested. 2 business pages for like boutiques, and then 1 page for this channel. And they do all have over 1,000 followers. It goes from like 1,000 to about 8,000 followers. So I still think that I do have some knowledge to share in this area. And you know, the most recent page, which is the We Side Hustle channel for this one, I only started a couple months ago and it's already hit about 1,300, 1,400 followers. So I think I've got some really useful tips to share. So I'm just gonna get to it. The first thing that I'm going to want you to do is to actually sit down and look at your page and really think about whether or not you are clearly communicating what your page is about and what your niche is. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. So my Orange Collective account, I'm just going to use that one because it has the most followers. That is a channel what myself and my boyfriend run, and it is all about travel and food. So we have purposely created a bio which, you know, summarizes what we're about in a snappy, I'm hoping it's funny way. We also make use of our highlight reels, which showcase kind of the different places that we've traveled to and accumulate some of the best content that we've put on our stories. And we also put a lot of care into our top 9. And what I mean by our top 9 is literally the first 9 photos which appear on your Instagram. The reason why I'm saying that these are really important in addition to your highlight reels is because when you go on someone's page and when you're making that decision about whether or not you're going to follow them, these are the first things that they see. They see your bio, they see your profile pic, they see your edit, your highlight reels, and they see your top 9 photos. So you want to always make sure that all of these things are aligned, they're working together, and they're clearly communicating what your page is about. If you're a brand, it's clearly communicating what the products you sell are and what your tone of voice is. If you're an influencer, it's clearly communicating what your niche is and what type of content you produce, so that people can make an informed decision as to whether or not they're going to engage with your page. The second tip that I have for you is to study your analytics. You can only do this if you're a business or creator account. If you're not either of those things, I recommend switching. It's very, very easy. I'll put a little video to my left here to show you how you can do it. But what it basically means is that you get access to a whole host of analytics from Instagram, which are really useful when you're trying to build or grow your account. Take a look at your analytics and look at which content has performed the best for you so far. What you want to do is look at this by reach, by engagement, by shares, by saves, by all of it, because you'll start to see a few photos are going to be reoccurring. These are the photos that you need to study and try to replicate. So make sure you pay loads of attention to this part of your analytics because it's super, super useful. It's literally telling you what content is going to work well for your audience. So, you know, listen to it and take it on board. My third tip I'm going to give you is, and this relates a bit into what I've just said, too many people focus on acquiring new followers more than actually, you know, maintaining or building relationships with their current followers. If you really focus on nurturing those relationships with your existing followers, then more followers will come. And how you're going to do that is by engaging with your followers, responding to their comments, sending them DMs, you know, really making sure that you're building a relationship with them, because eventually what will happen is they'll become advocates. And advocates are amazing because advocates are people who will share your content with others and who will really help you get your name out there. And they're going to be a huge driving factor for your growth, especially when you're a small account. My next tip is to master the algorithm. I'm probably going to do a whole video on this because the algorithm is a beast. Not as much of a beast as YouTube's. YouTube's algorithm is something else, but Instagram's algorithm is still a beast. A lot of you might remember back in the day, I think it was about 2016, Instagram actually used to show your content on your feed in chronological order. It was like reverse chronological order. So that was great for brands and for anyone trying to grow their audience, because it basically meant that it doesn't really matter if someone is engaging with your content or not, they're going to see it at some point if they scroll long enough. That's not the case anymore. Instagram introduced an algorithm, which is the whole purpose of the algorithm is to keep people on the platform for longer. And how they do that is by curating the feeds that we see when we go on our Instagram and we're scrolling along. The content that we've seen is the content which Instagram has decided that we are going to engage with the most. And how they've come to that conclusion is by studying our behavior. So studying whose channels we go on the most, studying whose stories we're looking at the most, studying who we DM the most, whose photos we like the most. They gather all of that data, and if you're interacting with the page a lot, they're going to be like, this page is obviously owned by someone who they're friends with, maybe it's their family, or this page is providing really high quality content that this person likes, so we're going to keep on serving it. So the way you master this algorithm, again, I need a longer video, but top few ways that you can do it. Focus on your content, make sure that it's super high quality and engaging, because then more people will engage with it and therefore the Instagram algorithm will push it up. Do things like ask questions in your captions, because then more people will comment, and again, Instagram will boost your page. Interact with your followers and engage with their content, because again, Instagram's going to think, oh, maybe they're friends, I'm going to boost your content and I'm going to show it up. So you can kind of see on the way I'm going with this. If you really take some time to master that algorithm and do your research into it and think about that every time you're on the platform and every time you post, eventually you're going to start to really reap the rewards of that, and Instagram's going to start pushing up your content. Okay, another tip I'm going to give you is to be consistent. I know everyone says this all the time, and it's such a pain. Like, oh my God, you know how hard it is to be consistent on 4 different Instagram accounts when you have a full-time job? It is so hard, but there's different things you can do and tools you can use. At the moment, I use Later. However, I am considering moving over to Planoly soon. If anyone's tried Planoly and Later, and if you have an opinion on which is better, let me know. Basically, what both programs do is allow you to pre-schedule all of your content so it goes out automatically without you having to do anything. This is vital for anyone who owns multiple Instagram pages, but also incredibly useful for anyone who just wants to get really consistent with their personal Instagram page. In terms of how often you post, it's going to differ depending on who you are, what your content schedule is like. One thing what I don't recommend is, committing to a ridiculous posting schedule. If you do a bit of research on this, you're going to find a lot of articles which are going to say, you need to post once a day. Oh, once a day is very hard. And unless you have loads of time to dedicate to your content, or unless you're able to batch capture content, it's going to be really difficult for you to stick to that kind of schedule. So be honest with yourself and figure out how much can you realistically post per week, and then stick to that. You do want to do, in my opinion, a minimum of 3, but you should always think about quality over quantity. For example, myself and my other half, who manage our Orange Collective page, and probably every other UK influencer who is in the niche of kind of travel or food blogging, will have reduced their amount of content this year, because restaurants have been closed majority of the year and we can't travel. So we can't produce really high quality content. And whilst we can do a bit of stuff from home, we're not going to pollute your feeds with different types of content which you aren't interested in. Our audience wants to see us travel and eat food out. We're not able to do that, so we're not going to try and force it. So again, just think about how often can you realistically create and produce and schedule high quality content which fits your niche, and then commit to that. Okay, so the last tip I'm going to give you, and this is probably the most important tip, especially for small Instagrammers. What you've got to think about, right, is you could be doing all of these other tips and mastering everything else that I've spoken about, but still not see a huge increase in your follower account. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because people can't see your content. If you think about it, how do you normally find someone's Instagram page? I personally find them through a recommendation. I find them on the popular page, which is incredibly hard to get on if you're a small influencer. Or I find them because they've engaged with my content. That's how I find them. So when I've started any new Instagram account, the main method for me to gain followers when I'm a small account is by getting on other accounts' radar. So for example, my Instagram account for We Side Hustle, when I started it a couple months back, I did loads of research into other accounts which share similar information. I looked at who follows those accounts, and then I went through each and every single person, and if I felt like they would be interested in my content, which they probably would if they're already following someone else's very similar page, I would like comment on one of their photos, I would respond to one of their DMs, you know, I might give them a follow. And what this basically does is it means that you're going to be getting on that person's radar. They're going to see your name pop up, and then a lot of the time they're going to look at your account. And if you've followed all those tips what I told you at the start in terms of making sure your first line posts are great, your highlights are great, you know, your bio's catchy and clear, they're going to look at all that information and they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to follow this person. And honestly, that is how I get to my first 1,000 followers. It's all those tips I've spoken through, but most importantly, it's that last one, which is getting on people's radar. It requires a lot of physical labor, yes, but you know, sometimes you've got to work for these things. It's incredibly effective. So those are my tips. I hope they were useful. As I said, I'm creating a guide which will help anyone who's trying to build their Instagram page and get paid sponsorship deals from brands as a result. So if you're interested, check out the link in my description where you can pre-register and be the first to know about when it's released. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and like this video if you enjoyed it or if you found it useful, and I will see you in my next video.